What's up guys, it's Matt from TDM Style here and welcome back to the channel for another tutorial, and it's been like a fucking minute since I've done one of these, so I'm really excited for today's video. So I know that I'm not alone when I say that anytime I come home from the salon, my hair just looks so much more amazing than it ever does when I style it myself, right? It's just smooth and silky and it just, the volume is in there and it just looks great. So today I want to talk about how you guys can achieve that perfect silky smooth salon blowout at home. So there are really three major factors that are going to make this salon blowout at home really work. And number one are your tools and your techniques. So essentially what that comes down to is you're going to need a decent blow dryer with a condenser nozzle on it. It doesn't have to be the Dyson, but if you want to spend the money, the Dyson is fucking amazing. So yeah, it's worth it. And the second one is your brush. Now you got some options and we'll get into both of these a little bit more once we get into the tutorial. Now, the second important thing are the products that you're going to use. And mostly I'm talking about what you're using as your pre-styler before you blow dry. I know a lot of the guys here in the kind of YouTube hair community tend to like to use these kind of sticky, super high holding, waxy products as a pre-styler in order to kind of put some hold and some volume in there in the beginning. But I have to say, in all the years that I've been getting my hair cut, I've never had a hairstylist use something like that on me in the salon when my hair is damp before they blow dry. And it still comes out with big volume and it looks amazing. So what I have discovered is that really, for me, it's more important to have a smoothing product as your pre-styler. So you've got a number of options there. You've got, grooming creams, smoothing lotions, serums, leave-in sprays. You got all kinds of stuff. To me, serums are one of the most effective. And the third major thing is practice. I know people hate to practice things, but part of the reason that your hair always looks amazing when you come home from the salon is because your hairstylist is a professional. They've had training, they've had lots of practice. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, so to them it's like second nature. For most of us at home, that's not the case. So I just want to stress that this is going to take some practice. Now, while I hope that this tutorial is going to help you to get better at it very quickly, of course, the fact is that it's just going to take some time. It depends on how your hair grows, what hair type you have, so you will have to do some experimenting to get everything just right. So with all that being said, let's jump right into the tutorial, and we need to start with freshly washed hair. So I'm gonna go have a wash and then I'll be right back. All right, next you wanna go in with your smoothing product as your pre-styler. So today I'm going in with a couple pumps of the new Sleek Argan Oil Smoothing Serum from TheSalonGuy. So in my experience, serums are always a great option because generally speaking, they're pretty lightweight and they're gonna do everything that you need. They're gonna smooth out any frizz and help to prevent any flyaways. They're gonna make it really easy for the brush to get through your hair as you're styling it. And sometimes they even give you a little bit of just that like perfect, nice, natural shine at the end. All right, so once I've got that pretty thoroughly worked in with my hands, I'm just gonna go through with a comb just to make sure I've got it really nice and evenly distributed. So, I mean, you can see right here, there's like no knots, everything's detangled, it's just very, very smooth. Now it's time to start blow drying. So the important thing here is that first you want to rough dry, which means just don't use any combs or brushes or anything. You can just use your fingers and the blow dryer, and you want to get your hair to the point that it's like almost totally dry. I mean, we're talking like 80 to 90% dry before you even grab the brush. So we're going in with high heat and high speed. Here we go. All right, so once your hair is feeling mostly dry, now we're gonna start the most important part of this whole process, and that's styling with the brush and the blow dryer at the same time. So if you're just starting out, you might wanna try something like a vent brush. When I was first getting into this, I found that this was just easier for me to get the hang of, and it took only a little bit of practice to get used to it. Nowadays, I prefer the round brush. I just find I have a lot more control with this, and for me, it's easier to use this to apply tension, which is what you're gonna wanna do to really smooth that hair out, and it's just easier for me to kind of shape the hairstyle that I typically go for. But a vent brush is another great option. Now, if you have a lot of hair like me, if it's on the longer side, you might want to use like an alligator clip, because basically you're going to want to separate your hair into small sections. I prefer to start with the back, since that seems to be the area that most guys kind of neglect, because, you know, people don't really see the back. But if your hair looks really nice up front and then the back looks all wild and it's sticking out everywhere, it's not going to look cute. So what you can do first is just brush your hair forward and, you know, get most of it out of the way. So now you can grab your clip and basically just separate, leave yourself some room to work in the back, and just put it in through the front. And that's basically just gonna put some weight on the front and keep it out of your way. Now we're gonna stick with high heat and high speed here, and the high heat is really important. As I've mentioned before, there's this big misconception in the men's hair community on YouTube that like you never wanna use high heat because it'll singe your hair and stuff. Totally untrue. The only way that's going to happen is if you hold that heat in the same place for like 5 minutes until you see your hair start smoking, which obviously you don't want to do that. What the high heat will do for you though, and this is why they use it in the salon, it heats up the molecular bonds in your hair so that they become malleable, and that's what's going to make it responsive so that it's going to hold the shape that you put in as you're styling with the brush. The main thing that you want to focus on here is first taking small sections of hair. You want to avoid taking any big old clump, and an easy way to do that is to just take a smaller section so that the amount of hair you're working with is no wider than the barrel of the brush. So the main technique you want to use here is to use those bristles of the brush to grab a section of hair, turn it to lock it in, and that's going to apply some tension to the hair, and you want to follow right along with the blow dryer while pulling that brush through. By applying tension and heat at the same time, you're essentially smoothing your hair and pulling it straight to eliminate any little kinks or waviness. And go slow here. The slower that you go, the easier that it is. Now, like I said, you don't want to hold the hairdryer in the same place for any extended amount of time to the point that your scalp starts to get hot, but you don't have to go fast. If you go fast, you're going to have to go over the same section more than once, so if you go slow, take your time with the brush and really make sure where you're putting the hair, you'll find it a lot easier. Now in the crown area at the back of your head, essentially you want to rotate that brush at a kind of downward and backward angle so that your hair will lay nicely against the back of your head. And as you start moving forward and getting the sections more towards the center and front of your head, you want to pull that hair straight up at like a 90-degree angle from your scalp. That's going to help to really build in that volume while smoothing it out at the same time. Now for me, I have certain sections of hair like this front corner here that are just extra wavy and cowlicky, and for those sections, to get those really straight and smooth, what I've found works best for me is to pull the hair in the direction of natural growth. That just seems to give me an easier time in actually straightening and smoothing it out. And then once you've got it straightened out a bit, you can blow dry it in the opposite direction if you want to put a bit more volume into that section. Alright, once you're pretty happy with how it's looking and you're done doing any of your brush styling, I like to go in with the cold air on the blow dryer for just a minute, because that's really going to help just cool your hair down really quick. It's going to close up the cuticle and help to lock that smoothness into place. You don't have to do that, you can let it just cool down naturally, but it does take about 20 minutes or so for the hair to just cool down completely on its own, so it is possible, especially if it's like humid outside or something, during that time that it could get a little bit wavy again, so I just like to lock it in with that cold air. Alright, so now as you can see, we are looking smooth and silky. We've got some nice bounce and volume to it. So, you know, the hard work is done at this point, and now we're on to finishing. So if you still have any areas that do still have some flyaways, or if the ends of your hair are a little bit dry still, you can actually go in with just a tiny bit more serum into the dry hair. So I'm just gonna put literally like a quarter of a pump onto my fingertips here and really just kind of go lightly through the ends and any semi-frizzy areas. So now you just have to choose your finishing product. And, you know, oftentimes when I'm in the salon at this point, we'll just honestly finish. My stylist will go in with a little bit of hairspray to lock it in, and maybe just a little bit of like a shine spray just to give it a nice natural shine and just a little bit even more smoothness. But obviously if you're looking for something high hold or textured, now you can go in with your clay or your pomade or whatever you like. So today I'm testing out the new Fuertes styling pomade, so I'm gonna go in with a little bit of that. And I mean, as you can see, even with stickier products, if you've done this styling method and really smoothed your hair out first, it just makes the styling product go in so much more easily. All right, guys, so there you have it. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I mean, I think we're looking pretty smooth and silky like we just came from the salon. Now, as I mentioned though, this definitely takes a lot of practice, so don't get discouraged if it doesn't come out exactly how you want the first couple of times. It definitely took me lots of experimenting with different brushes and different, like, you know, angles when you're applying tension to the hair and stuff to really figure out what works for me and how I can really shape it so that it comes out the way that I want at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned to the channel. I've got lots more reviews and other things coming up as usual. So if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button down below to keep up to date with all that upcoming content. And as always, thank you guys so much for coming by and watching, and we'll see you at the next one.